good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Yes, we are in a little bit of a different scene. I'm not at the White House, but the house is white, so never mind. FOMC, man. It's going to be an interesting one, guys. I'm serious, man. It's like we've got so much news coming out, not just FOMC, which will be aired later on this evening at roughly around 7 p.m. UK time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. I will be going live for the FOMC, and it's going to be roughly around half an hour beforehand, just to get everybody into the live stream, and we're having a little bit of a laugh and a joke and other things as well. But we've got more data coming out today as well. At the close, we have Microsoft, Tesla, Meta. They're going to be declaring their earnings today, and that will be at the close. So we are going into some very interesting volatility as we head into the Asian session tonight. But what's the plan today? Well, look, man, what do you expect from the markets? FOMC, what are they going to do? But the thing we got to be looking out for in today's FOMC is not necessarily the rate cuts themselves, because what it is, the Fed is going to keep rates at 4.5%. What we're looking for is what they're going to do in the future. Now, you may have heard me talking about this before. If the Federal Reserve is dovish on its FOMC approach, that means that we're going to get some more interest rates going cuts into the future. But if they're hawkish, we might have a bit of a problem. And I'm going to call it now. I bet you that the Federal Reserve starts to blame Donald Trump for their lack of progress on inflation. Well, let's think about it. Donald Trump has already tried to get the Saudis to try and bring down the price of oil. So there's one reason why inflation isn't going to necessarily go up. Whether the prices of oil go down or not is a different story, as in your everyday fueling and what have you. He wants to cut income tax. I mean, he does that. That'll be a big win for everyone. But that could also lead to people spending more money, which naturally can have an impact on inflation. But on top of that, Trump says that the Fed doesn't even know what it's doing and that he's got a better idea of how to manage interest rates, which is what I'll ask you guys. Some of you have come out with comments that Trump's this, he's a liar, he's this and that. But fundamentally, this guy's been in business for a long time. He's a multi-billionaire, has become a multi-billionaire. Powell is not a multi-billionaire. Powell looks at things from an economic point of view in the sense, textbook says, if you do this, then you'll get this outcome. Well, theory is different to practical, all right? So if Trump says he's going to do a good job with interest rates, I believe that Trump would do a better job with interest rates. Remember, Powell is the puppet, you know? He's being told what to say. And, well, we're going to know about it later on this evening. So let's get into the chart. Let's go and have a look at what's going on in cryptocurrency. I hope you are all doing well. Am I in jail? I am not in jail, man. Where do you think jail's got this great internet connection? And I mean, it's debatable with the internet, but never mind. I'm not in jail, guys. I've managed to avoid it, if that's what you're asking. But, you know, it ain't a crime until you get caught. That's what am I saying, man? That is unbelievable. Yeah, man, happy days to you, my bro. Okay, so is it a dump day? No, don't look at the t-shirt. Don't worry about the t-shirt. It's just that this is the t-shirt that I was able to wear right now. I mean, I've got a beautiful green one over there. Green for Vector, baby. But anyways, let's get into the charts. Let's break it all down for you to get you guys aligned with what to expect going into today, because it is a very big day for the marketplace. All right, so let's get with the program, gang. Here we go. All right, so in front of you, we have got good old NASDAQ. Now, NASDAQ hasn't really done too well. Well, it has done very, very well. I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of an update. If you remember, over the last couple of days, I've been talking to you about this this position that I opened over the weekend. So it was actually on the Friday, sorry, last Friday. Sunday, sorry. I opened it on the Sunday after the carry trade unwind. If you remember me talking about the carry trade principle. So I thought, you know, buy the blood. You hear me saying it all the time, buy the blood. And this was buying the blood, okay? So I took the trade, and these were my entries down here. I said I was going to talk to you about it. I took a very decent entry long. I didn't see any drawdown, and we originally had around $6,000 in our account. So about 6,516 pounds sterling in the account. And then what we ended up doing was we actually managed to ride the move to the upside. So we saw success and we added to our trade, which was done right here. Okay. And then, of course, as NASDAQ started to make some movement to the upside, we added a couple of more trades right here. And then we ended up seeing the success of the move up. And this is where I decided to close. Now, at the time of the screenshot, we always got to close. Well, listen, when you take screenshots of any profits, you've got to close the trade. That's it. Because then in the end, you're going to be that dude sat there like, oh, I took a screenshot and I've got no profits to say. Anyways, with that being said, we cleared £35,775 on that trade itself. And then this was me with the closure of the trade. So where we at? And this was, there you go. Those were the plays. So that's us closing the trade right now. Not right now. It was yesterday. I just couldn't be bothered to sit through it all. I did miss out a little bit more flavor to the upside with the NASDAQ, but never mind. 35K in a day is not bad. Going from 6K all the way to 35. Can't complain about that. And then I took a quick scout this morning, which I'm absolutely gutted for. Check this out. So this is MT4. I use MT4 with IC Markets. And I took a short position from here on the NASDAQ. It was only a couple of positions, right? Now, we ended up taking £6,285, which now brings our balance to around, where we at? Yeah, now we're at £48,525. So we added a little bit more. It was around 50K. But if I look at my entry and I look at my exit, it would have been easy, 10, 15 grand day where we would have made, we would have cleared the 50K mark on this account. Now that I've done this 50K, well, 48K in principle, from 6K, I'm just going to withdraw all of it and leave another 5, 6K in there. The reason I do that is because it aligns my psychology. It keeps me focused on one lot size, certain lot sizes, certain time of being in a trade. Because if I leave money in there, I'm going to be compelled to be like, start putting down some size and getting very brave with things. And risk, boy, I will take it. I pay to play. I have no hesitations to run 100 lot sizes on the NASDAQ, 200 lot sizes on the NASDAQ. I don't care because I'm in the trade. Let the trade tell me if I'm right or wrong. Not beforehand thinking they're scratching your head, wondering what's the story, okay? So we took a little scalp, gutted a little bit, and the reason I took it was because NASDAQ started to break down on the smaller time frames right here. On this range right here, and it was just stalling out, and it was going for the liquidity, but more importantly, it was going to be going to attack the green vector candle that was achieved in the Asian session. So that was realistically where I took my trade. I entered right here, and then I closed off around this point, but then obviously I left some money on the table, but never mind. Could have taken advantage of a nice V-shaped reversal, and I will give you a tip, and this is for anyone, and I say it all the time to all the guys in the Platinum membership, okay? NASDAQ is a fiend for creating W formations. Very rarely do I short the NASDAQ, and only short it when there's been an extended move to the upside. But 9 times out of 10, you will find that whenever NASDAQ, after a move to the downside, it will create a little W formation. If you go to the 30-second time frame, you'll see how clean that move is. Look at that. Beautiful consolidation right there. You've got a nice little W formation coming into play right here with the move out, retrace. The logic says continuation to the upside. And that's what we'd be looking for with the NASDAQ. These are the opportunities that I look for. 9 times out of 10, I'm trading longs on the NASDAQ because the relationship with the bids and the offers is this. When prices are taking a nosedive to the downside, that's where the bids are getting aggressive and the buyers are stepping in, the passive buyers. At some instance, those guys are going to want to make a profit and they will start offering prices higher, which will naturally then lead the short sellers to come out of their positions and buy to cover on their shorts because they don't want to be losing money as price goes back up again, because when you're in a short, you favor lower prices. And then when it starts to climb back up again, that's when it starts to build up the momentum because investors are like, oh my God, it's going back up. And then that's what we would logically take the trade on. And that's the reason why I took this trade right here, because all the bids came down and I'm looking for longs because people tend to be more optimistic than pessimistic. Okay. And that's usually the case when you are trading the NASDAQ itself. Now, with that being said, going into cryptocurrency, what are we going to expect today? Do you know what? There's a little bit of a tug of war with Trump and Powell. Trump says that he can do a better job than the Fed. Go into it. He says here, I think I know interest rates much better than they do. I think I know it certainly much better than the one who's primarily in charge of making that decision. So that pretty much means what? Jerome's going to be out of a job. This is where I step in. I'll be like, excuse me, FOMC members, is there a vacancy available? I'll step in and I'll answer the questions. Like, we need to bring interest rates down. Let's bring it down. We'll deal with the problem later. You're already in $36 trillion worth of debt. What difference is it going to make if you just cut the interest rates? Let's be honest now. You've got ways of doing things. You've got emergency powers. If it all goes to pan, then you can just start exercising some of those emergency powers. But anyway, I'm not going to get myself excited at the idea of potentially going into the White House. But I think we should sign a petition to get me over there, at least be one of the guys that actually ask the questions to Jerome Powell. With that being said, there is going to be a main event inside of the FOMC press conference. Look, in the actual conference today, you're going to have the federal funds rate being released at 7 p.m. UK time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. Okay? Now, you've got the FOMC statement, which they are expecting it to not really say anything much compared to what they said last time. But it's all going to be about the press conference. And you hear me saying this over and over again. Why? Because there's only going to be one question that is asked by one of the reporters that could really steer the markets in a certain direction, which will make Powell make the markets believe he's somewhat dovish or he's going to be hawkish. Now, an ideal scenario for us is that the markets, or should I say Powell, comes across as dovish. That means they're going to be cutting interest rates in the future, easing, making liquidity accessible, so it's cheaper for the market to borrow money. Right now, the dollar is now going to be held at 4.5%. So you are now borrowing at 4.5%. That means your yield is going to be higher, which means that investors are now going to be looking at the 10-year markets and saying, you know what? Let's have a look at what we can get on the 10-year yield. Well, on the 2-year, we got 4.19%. What are we going to get on the 10-year yield? We're going to get 4.5% over there. So if the yields on the US dollar are going to be higher for longer, which is what they're going to be, investors are going to do what? They're going to seek the safety of the bonds to lock in these yields, and they're also going to be going into cash, which means that Bitcoin might have a bit of a problem. Is it wrong to say that? Well, let's just go into Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin currently consolidating sideways, 101,971. And I'm telling you, when you're waiting for FOMC, Bitcoin is always going to do this. It's always going to go sideways and act like a pancake and not do anything. So what I advise you all do is you've got to wait until you get all the information. And if you're an adrenaline junkie and you want that volatility, welcome to my world. But what I'm saying to you is if you're a beginner and you're new to this, don't chase the volatility. Don't. Wait till you get information about what's going on. Right now, we don't know what the story is regarding the FOMC press conference. There could be a question that they ask Powell and he gives the market that answer and the market doesn't like it. Or they alternatively could like it. However, we got an even bigger event. Check this out. Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, they're all going to be declaring their earnings at the close of today's market. That means tonight, the Asian session will be wild. Why? Well, you've got the FOMC, and whatever the result of the FOMC will be, the market's going to react. There will be imbalances. That means Bitcoin could actually make a move to the upside on the FOMC. Happy days. Got big movements. All right. So Bitcoin makes the move up and clears the 105,000 zone. We then come into the earnings announcements. Microsoft misses, even though there's talks about them buying TikTok. That's going to be interesting. But imagine if they miss and then the stock market doesn't like that. What happens then? Everything comes back down again. So you've got an imbalance. Trade the imbalances. That's all you've got to do. If you're going to be wanting to understand if Bitcoin's going to go higher and you're going to start buying Bitcoin now, you run the risk of wild volatility. Bitcoin can shoot up and make it look like everything is good. Meta comes out with its earnings and says, no, we missed. Microsoft comes out and says, we missed. Tesla comes out and puts a nail in the coffin and just says, that's it, we're missing out on our deliveries for Tesla cars all over the world. Then what happens? Then the stock market says, well, the expectations from the stock market ain't looking too good. Earnings per share isn't being hit, and the bar has been raised quite significantly for the earnings. So realistically, in my opinion, the biggest event is the earnings of Microsoft and Meta. Combined, they're around $4.5 trillion in market cap. That's a lot of money. Look what happened to NVDA. It dropped 17% on Monday. And NASDAQ took a bit of a beating on top of that as well. But the discount traders came in and picked it all up. If you go have a look at NVIDIA itself, you can see, look at that. Nice little gap right there, which I would be expecting them to come back up and actually take. But again, when we go into changes in interest rates, your priority is to roll into Forex. That's where you're going to be able to take information. I've got interest rates, right? Keeping it at 4.5%. I need to go over to the euro. Why? Because the euro right now has taken a little bit of a turn to the downside. But the yield on the euro is going to be less lucrative in comparison to the dollar. Why? Because the dollar's yield right now is going to remain high, 4.5%. So what do you think the euro is going to do? It's going to come down. Given that, of course, the ECB wants to cut the interest rates even more on the euro, that means investors in the euro are going to be like, why am I holding euros? Let's get over to dollar. Which means that the Japanese yen is going to end up going down again. Go into the Japanese yen. There's your carry trade, ladies and gentlemen. It was right there. I said it to you. It's going to mark up. They're going to bring it all the way back down. They've priced in the carry. Now, the Bank of Japan was coming across as maybe we're going to be increasing interest rates yet again. That means we're going to end up having some more future volatility. Wherever prices of assets across the board, doesn't matter. But ultimately, it means that investors now can borrow a lot of yen because the rate on the dollar is high. And that means on the dollar, you're appreciating by 7.8%. So you've got 7.8% more purchasing power on the dollar. That means you can buy more yen. Sell it, convert it into dollars, or borrow more yen, sell it, convert it into dollars. That inflates your dollar, get your dollar, put it into the stock market. But today's data coming out, and of course the earnings call is going to decide if the stock market is going to like what it hears from Microsoft and Meta. And then that would then give the NASDAQ the move to the upside to then see the all-time high to being claimed, which in principle should be the move that gives Bitcoin the rally higher. Okay? Now, with that being said, we've got other things coming into crypto as well. Look at this. I like profitability, said the Czech central bank chief. Now, Czech central bank allocating up to 5% of their reserves in Bitcoin. Oh my days. It's all going to start. Now, Larry Fink said one good thing, and he says, if sovereign wealth funds start to allocate their money into cryptocurrency, and the largest sovereign wealth fund is the one in Norway, go and Google it. It manages around $1.7 trillion. Okay, that's a lot of flavor for a sovereign wealth fund. If they start allocating some of that portfolio to cryptocurrency, you're laughing. You are laughing. And I'm going to ask you all a question, and I don't know what your response will be with this, okay? If wealth funds start coming into cryptocurrency and they start buying Bitcoin, and then you've got banks buying Bitcoin, is it possible to assume that there will be this FOMO and everyone in altcoins are just going to put them in the bin and just jump to Bitcoin? Is it possible that everyone will just dismiss the altcoins? I saw one of your comments, man. One guy says, my bag is bleeding. My alts are down really badly. Like, how high has Bitcoin gone up? Okay. And how high have the altcoins gone up? I mean, you're waiting for your altcoin season, but there's too many eyes on Bitcoin, which is going to make people say to themselves, why on earth would I sell my Bitcoin to go into altcoins because it's altcoin season? Now, some of you might not even do that, but the idea is that when Bitcoin's coming down, the altcoins are going to end up going up. That's your altcoin season, because that's what you guys have been traditionally used to in the crypto market. But you got Wall Street with you now. And it's what Wall Street says. Putting that into perspective, ladies and gentlemen, we've got this. BlackRock, 572,000. And for some reason, it's not coming up. Something's going off with that wallet. It's not giving me the information. But the ETF itself is doing perfectly fine. Going over into the ETF itself, we'll go and have a look. Where we at? IBIT, where you at? There we go. Not doing too bad. It's come back up to recover some of that gap, but it's still consolidating. Now, this is what happens. If the ETF does come across as a place for investors to park cash, the ETF in principle is the money markets. This could be a place where people diversify their portfolios. That's where Bitcoin naturally is going to end up becoming the hedge against inflation, which means that Bitcoin might not actually go up too much, because there'll be this control of buying and selling continuously. And because investors are continuously diversifying their portfolios, that means Bitcoin will go up and it will come back down, because investors will be selling the Bitcoin, they'll be buying the Bitcoin, which will keep Bitcoin in a contained range. And that's what's going on, in my opinion. What's happening to Bitcoin and its continuous trend to the upside? I mean, okay, look, if we go over and look at Bitcoin, we can say, yeah, it is moving higher, okay? Going by that logic, we just go into the higher time frames. You can see on the 15-hour time frame, it's just a random time frame. But look, you can see it is going higher, but you are seeing bouts of consolidation. It keeps on staying close to its all-time highs. And if Bitcoin is going to repeat this same behavior like it did last time over here, then the idea is that the consolidation that they spend over here is going to happen here, and that will then lead Bitcoin towards the 120,000 point that everybody is looking for. And then when it gets to 120,000, they'll be like, that's it, now Bitcoin is done, it's going to go down to 100K. You're all going to be looking at 100K thinking it's the new 70K or the new 50K or the new 20K, all right? in my opinion, if they can just get Bitcoin into that money market mentality, it will take a long time for Bitcoin to climb, but you know that there are participants buying and selling Bitcoin continuously, and that is where Bitcoin, in my opinion, would become the actual hedge against inflation. Of course, the US government coming out and buying Bitcoin as part of the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Happy days. That's just going to send Bitcoin even further up. Okay? Now, any questions, ladies and gents, whilst we get into some day trading activities and break down Bitcoin's price action for you mad traders out there? Here we go. What you got for me? Tino, how do I know if I should get out of a short long with high leverage with small time frames? W's and M's are forming, but sometimes it keeps going down or up. How do you get out of a short or long with high leverage with small time frame? How do I know if I should get out? Well, look at your balance. If your balance is bleeding and you're losing, get out. And if it is bleeding so much to the point where you're like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore, you're using too much leverage. You solve your problem and answer your own question by getting rid of high leverage. That's the sweet spot for it. Any questions? Powell was interviewed about Trump seeking his resignation, and he was very firm that he was staying. That's true. I see him actually being hawkish as a FU to Trump over the power struggle. Maybe. That could be the case. But when you look at the data that's coming out regarding the US economy, look at yesterday's data. We had contraction in the core durable goods orders. That's no good. That tells us that there are less goods being ordered. And it's quite bad as well. Then you've got, of course, the forget that composite. But you've got core durable goods coming in at 0.3%. That's no good. They expected 0.4%, right? You're going into the data tomorrow with regards to unemployment claims. They're expecting that to be higher. Last reading was higher. So the longer or more people claim benefit, the more firm the Fed's going to be at cutting the interest rates. But if they're not getting the data to suggest that the economy is struggling, they don't need to do anything. And that's the problem that Trump has. His problem is if the economy seems to be doing well, okay, why should we have high interest rates? But the Fed wants to get down to its 2% mandated target of 2% on inflation. And if they do raise the bar, or they just move the goalposts and say, okay, let's start cutting, don't worry about the inflation rate, that's going to undermine the Fed. And they can't be seen as doing the wrong thing or have people thinking that they've got it wrong. Everyone's going to challenge it, but they're not going to be doing anything to solidify that conviction by the masses. So they're just going to stick to their 2%, and that's all they're going to do. Pricing and 2%. That's all they want. Okay? Any other questions? Tino, there is way more alts in the market now than past cycles. Hence, alts won't pump as hard, so the altcoin market is too saturated. Possibly, yes. Maybe the altcoin market is too saturated. But the problem that you guys have with the altcoin market is simple. Too much attention is being put onto Bitcoin. It really is. Because when Bitcoin starts to correct and everyone's like, quickly go over to the altcoin market, Bitcoin then comes back up again. Because it's triggering people to buy Bitcoin. Go and look at this. In front of you right here is the order flow of Bitcoin. Look at all this buying that they've been doing. Look at this buying here. Look at this buying. Look at this buying. This was a big buying event. Okay? And then you had a little bit of a buying event over here. And now we don't really see that much of an event of buying in this area, which could then lead us to believe that the offers, you can see, look at this offer up here, 25 million at 110,000. There's been high concentration of purchases of Bitcoin. And look at this. You've got a big order there, 9 million. The original order was 1 million. So that dude was sat there with his little $1 million Bitcoin. He was like, hey, I want to buy. And then a whole gang load of guys came in and bought 9 million on top of it. And when you're seeing that happening, it's showing you that there are people at the charts actively waiting for certain price points to trigger. And if there are people waiting for certain price points to trigger, that means there is an expectation that they want to sell it in the future at another different price point, which happens to be higher. Okay? You've got to look at it. This is all numbers, okay? And it's orders. 9 times out of 10 is BS. Why? Because it just tells us what someone is prepared to buy and sell for. But what it doesn't tell us is how long they're planning on holding the trade for. What's the real reason they're buying at that point? We don't know the person that bought at this point has ended up selling all the way up here. It doesn't tell us that. We can add the numbers together and say, oh, look, there's an order there that was sold. Here we go. Let's have a look. So an order up there was sold. It would just come in just slightly. Let me just zoom into it. Here we go. There you go. So someone traded 1.53 million to sell Bitcoin at 103,300. Okay? On top of that, they actually sold 5.26. So we could make the assumption that the guy that had already ordered 9 million down here may have sold 50% of his position up there. That's what I mean about Bitcoin going into the idea of an ETF money market style. There's too many people paying attention to it. They're going to see it as effectively as a hedge in the future. So when you're looking for a certain Bitcoin trajectory price of 150,000, 200, 300,000, you've got to understand that there has to be a lot of people that plow into Bitcoin, and you need quite a few entities with a lot of money to buy a lot of Bitcoin to, of course, send its price higher. But going into the altcoins, you might hold altcoins and be like, oh, my bag is bleeding. The fact is, Bitcoin's the one that's taken the claim to glory. As I said, any coin outside of Bitcoin is a meme coin. I'm sorry, that's the truth. It really is the truth, you know? Any other questions? Do Camel... I'm not reading that, bruv. I'm sorry. I'm not reading that. The real FOMO will be when people holding Bitcoin are watching the rest of the market run up. They FOMO out of Bitcoin to try and make bigger gains. It will be crazy. That is very true, ladies and gentlemen. They will... People will get scared that they're missing out on an opportunity on certain altcoins. But I'm telling you now, when Bitcoin drops, people are going to buy it. And everyone's going to go into alts. And then Bitcoin will go back up again. And everyone is hunting for the altcoin rally. I don't think you're going to get it. It's going to be Bitcoin's going up. Everything's going up. Altcoins will go up. And that might challenge a lot of you. You might say you don't know anything about the cycles, Tino. But when did any of the cycles include BlackRock? Since when did any of the cycles include strategic reserve? Any of the cycles include sovereign wealth funds? Utah trying to pass a bill to put Bitcoin as a reserve in their treasury. Since when did we have anything like that in the previous cycles? We didn't. Your ETF messed it up for you. So now you've got to adapt. And if you don't like the idea of adapting, you're going to be on the train. You'll be hanging on, hoping. There's no hoping in this game, ladies and gentlemen. You're in it to make money or not. Get your money, get out good. And whatever chaos and madness is going on with Bitcoin, whoever's buying it or selling it, as long as you're making a penny or two, then you can sleep well at night. In it for the tech. Get the Anyways. Any other questions, guys? Just to put it into perspective. How many of you are new to this live stream? If you are new, make sure you are liking and subscribing. We are going live again tonight for the FOMC. All right? You don't want to miss out on that because we're going to be listening into Powell. We're going to be listening to see if we got any Ginas in there. All our good-looking reporters. They're going to be talking and we're going to know if they're going to ask those provoking questions for Powell. And if he's going to be, you know what, if Powell does come across as the guy that's like, you know what, I'm not interested in what Trump has to say, he's out. I'm telling you, Trump will get rid of him. Trump has given him enough rope to hang himself. Cut the rates, bro. And if he isn't, just to spite Trump, he's out. He will be out. Yes, this is true. There is an exchange. There is a story about the supply. Then there's also a supply issue with Ethereum. Who the hell is buying Ethereum, man? We just go over to it right now. Ethereum price action. Quickly have a look over here. So, yeah, Ethereum ain't doing too much. Ethereum, given that it hasn't taken its all-time high, XRP's taken its all-time high, that absolute nut job of an asset. Where we at? See what I mean, man? $3.07. It's still there. I'm telling you, this is... XRP was behaving like an ETF before it even became an asset you can trade. I'm telling you now. Look at it. It's just sideways, dead. It's moved away from that point, and it's going to do exactly the same thing. It will just stay sideways until something significant comes into play. I know we've had $1 billion in the actual Ripple coin, the stable coin being printed, so it's been all coming into play. So, yeah, there's a lot of things happening for that. But XRP, in my opinion, is just going to stay sideways. FOMC, Bitcoin will then fly, Ethereum will start flying, XRP will be down minus 0.1%. Something stupid. But anyway, it's a cool asset. Buy it. It will help you in the future. Shut up, Tino. Stupid asset. Anyways, yes, I know. Yeah, the World Liberty Place. They're buying Ethereum, but they're not buying that much of it. Mad love, GMV. Anyways, any other questions, guys? How can we scalp the crypto during these times, Tino? Don't scalp crypto during these times, man. I'm telling you, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. I took my trades on the NASDAQ before all this news announcement came into play. I exploited the reversal. I played the carry trade principle that I've been screaming about to you all. You buy the blood. NASDAQ drops. Yen goes up, but yen's going to come back down. When the yen goes down, everything goes back up. There it is right there, man. Okay. Tino, I have 100% success rate in my last 48 trades, 60 days. How exceptional is that? That is brilliant. But remember, variance works in both ways. It can be good for you and it can be bad for you. If any of you remember the poker player Isildur, the Swedish kid who came and rocked the scene in the poker game, came in with like $2,000 and turned it into like 18 million. All right. And he said it was just variance, had nothing to do with skill. All the cards kept on coming into play for him. Isildur, man. What a kid. Any other questions? Mad love to you, Michael. Mad love to you. Oh, we got Bitcoin moving. Nice little bit of flavor on Bitcoin. Listen, guys, so we put it into perspective for you. Or what time are we on? Okay, markets are opening. All right, so put it into perspective for you. All right. Some of you are going to be coming to the chart wondering whether Bitcoin's going to go up or down. That's the deadest comment on earth. I absolutely despise it. Okay. So even though you are actually asking the question, is Bitcoin going to go up or down? You are improving the odds of getting the information to be favored or to a move up or down by waiting for the data to come out. Let FOMC come out. They'll bring you an imbalance. Okay. Then find out if the earnings per share or the returns on Microsoft, Tesla, and Meta. Let's see if they hit their earnings call. If they hit their earnings call, NASDAQ's gone. NASDAQ's clearing 22 and it's just going to run, because then that will solidify to investors across the board that everything is all good in AI. I'm not even mentioning this DeepSeek. Never mind. But that would then give traders and investors a reason to believe that the economy is good and that the AI market itself is sustaining itself purely off the earnings call. Okay. So just be mindful of that. All right. Don't FOMO into anything. You're going to get bullied, man. But if you do decide to take on risk, keep it light. The whole point is to stay in the game. All right. I'll be tuning into you all later on this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to put out a community post to give you the heads up on the time that I'm going to be going live for the FOMC. Like, subscribe on the way out, and I'll be tuning into you all tonight. Let's see if there's any blood on the streets. Mad love and respect. I give up, man. Stop with this dead winking and shit, man. Tino, take a look at whiff. Pop. I'll do that for you. I'll do that after. All right? Mad love and respect, my bro. Peace, gang.